Hi everyone, it is so nice to be back. In case you're new here, my name is Justin. So welcome to this space, School Procurement with me, Justin, and I can't wait to share with you what I have in stock for you. The last time I was here, I was just introducing myself and just telling you that I'll be coming and making some procurement issues simpler for everyone, especially the guys working in schools, because I specifically will be talking about school procurements. Yes, in our very first video, I just thought it wise to start with the basics. So we are going to look at the different procurement terms that we use that some people just get to find harder. So our very first one will be procurement. So what is procurement? Yes, apart from people thinking that it is just buying stuff, procurement means acquisition by purchase, rental, lease, hire purchase, license, tenancy, franchise, or any other contractual means of any type of works, services, or supplies, or any combination. Yes, so procurement as procurement does not actually just look at just buying, because people might think, or you might be there and you are thinking that procurement is actually buying something or getting something, but no, it is actually a process. So here we are looking at acquiring. How are you acquiring anything that you want? It can be by purchase, hire purchase, lease, rental, franchise. Okay, it is huge. Let me take an example. We are in a school and it so happens that the chalk is getting done and the teachers would love to get chalk. Yes, for if it were just buying, anyone would go, let me say a teacher, a bursar, or anyone in a school would go and to any shop they know that sells chalk and they would just buy the chalk. What makes procurement different is now that if you want chalk and you have a procurement department or someone handling procurement in your organization, the legal and the right way would be for you as the user, let me say the teacher who wants the chalk, to request for the chalk. Then let your request be approved by the head teacher, and then the head teacher will have to confirm that actually the school has money to buy this chalk that you want. And then after confirming, the head teacher will return your requisition to you, and it will come to procurement. So what we do in procurement, we are responsible for getting the best supplier who will give us the best quality at the lowest price possible. Yes, that is basically what we do. So as procurement officer, we make sure that you get the right chalk according to what you really required. So we don't just go to any shop or anywhere and just buy the thing that you're requesting for, in this instance the chalk. So we source out for like more than 2 suppliers actually, and these suppliers will all have to prove that they have the right chalk that we are requesting for. Remember, when you're making your request, you have particular specifications that you have. You know that we want white chalk, which is dustless, which is not breaking, okay, per se. And then for us, the procurement officer, we will look out in the market to see who really has this chalk that you're talking about. Yes, you might find that more than even 2 people have that particular chalk, but who is giving us that chalk of the right quality at the lowest price possible? At the end of the day, because actually for a procurement officer you need to have negotiation skills, we make sure that we get that chalk at the lowest price possible, that the school is not cheated, and that okay, we are getting value for money. So basically that is how I can just break it down in a simpler way of what we exactly do. But like I said, procurement is a process, or everything I just talked about, it goes through different steps until we can actually get what we require in a school. So we all know in a school we have the head teacher, the head of the school. We used to have the headmaster or the head teacher. Yes, actually, headmaster or the head teacher. Some people call them the principal. Yes, something like that. Yes, where I work, we call him the head teacher. So in procurement, we refer to them as the accounting officer. The head teacher, being the accounting officer, is responsible for everything. So for any purchase that we are going to do, it has to be approved by the accounting officer, who is the head teacher. So he's the overall authority in making decisions before we make purchases. Yes, so in case you come across accounting office, it is not actually complicated. It is just the head of the school. In this case, it might be the head teacher, the principal, or the headmaster. I hope you get that one. The next one we are going to look at is the bidder. Yes, that is, I think, the one of the common words you will hear in procurement, a bidder. But who is a bidder? Yes, according to the PPDA, that is the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Authority, which is our governing authority as procurement officers. A bidder is a physical or artificial person intending to participate or participating in a public procurement and disposal proceedings. So when we talk about a bidder, it is just someone who wants to be a part, like, let me say, like a supplier who wants to come and supply. That will be our bidder. So any person who wants to supply anything to the school or sell something to the school, and they are participating or they want to participate in that process of being able to supply something to the school, or they want us to buy from them per se, that is who we call a bidder. But yes, we can call them suppliers, but in procurement we call them bidders. The one we're going to look at is pre-qualification. Pre-qualification, okay, that is another one. In procurement, we have that process of screening, like these suppliers, or whom we call the bidders, to see that exactly they actually meet the criteria that we want for someone to be able to supply to us, to see that actually these people have what we are requesting for, and we can actually source from them. They are the right people, let me say. Yes. So we have that process which we call pre-qualification process, where we just get to screen bidders or suppliers and look through their documentation to see that they actually have what we want. And that particular process is very, very important in procurement, because that is the only way we can know that we are using the right people and they're able to supply to us to avoid disappointments. So in case you come across pre-qualification, don't be shocked. It is just a process of screening suppliers or bidders. Yes, let us look at this one, PDE. Yes, you will find where someone is mentioning the PDE, or you will find it in a documentation, the PDE. So PDE stands for Procuring and Disposing Entity. And in this case, it is our school. Now, instead of saying the school, we are saying the PDE. So that is a procurement term to just mean a school. So when you see PDE or Procuring and Disposing Entity, don't be confused. It is just the school in this situation. Or it would be the organization. It is the PDE. Yes. So when we have the PDE, which I said it is the school, but there is also what we call the PDU. No, this is PDE and PDU are different. So the PDU is the Procuring and Disposing Unit, and the PDU is found in the PDE. Yes, this is kind of confusing, but it is easy to understand. So when we are talking about the PDU, we are talking about that particular office or that particular section of the school that is responsible for the purchase the acquisitions that we talked about, acquisition by hire, but that particular section that is responsible for that is now the PDU. That is why it is called a unit. It is just a unit of the school, the Procuring and Disposing Unit. So the PDU is found in the PDE. So the PDE being the entity, the school will have that section which we might call the Procurement Department or the Procuring and Disposing Unit, that particular section. I hope you don't confuse the two, because yeah, you can say PDE and then PDU. It can be confusing, but it is that easy. Yes, so we have the PDU, which is the unit responsible for the acquisitions and the purchases, the processes, yes, to see that things are bought in the right way. The other thing we have is record. A record is any document being in a manual or an electronic form relating to any stage of procurement or disposal process, and shall be the original document unless otherwise stated in writing by the authority. Disposal. Yes, disposal, it is just like getting rid of the things that the school no longer uses or that are no longer needed by the school. That is the simplest way I can put it. You see how you like give away something to other people, or you get to sell it by auctioning it, you get to just ban those ones that are not required. Those are some of the processes of disposal, but that is a large topic. We shall be looking into it. But when you see disposal somewhere, it is just getting rid of the things that the school no longer wants. Yes, I feel that one is easy. Yes, we have this one, the framework contract. Yes, framework contracts means a contractual arrangement for an estimated quantity or minimum value of supplies or services at fixed unit prices over a certain period of time, where actual quantities are purchased by means of individual call of orders and payment is made for the actual quantities or services delivered. Yes, this one is kind also very big. Yes, for a framework contract. And in a school, we are actually required to use framework contracts. So that what we do the things, we are using actually these particular contracts of framework. That is why I mentioned it. So yes, we shall be going deeper into it. And yeah, it is actually interesting. Everything rotates around the framework contract in a school, how we get to get these suppliers, but it is used for things that are being bought on a routine basis, things that keep on coming into the school. Take an example like the food, like stationery, like things that, okay, we get to use now and then. That is when we use the framework contract. Yes, so we shall be looking at that in the near future. Yes, now that we have looked at some of the procurement terms, I hope I try to explain, but I'll be talking about them now and then, so I'll be explaining more about them. I just wanted to mention some of them. But in a school, we have different committees that are responsible for different things under procurement. So as a procurement officer, you don't work alone. You cannot just do all this purchasing alone. You carry on the processes alone. Yes, you are the person responsible. You are the technical person responsible, but we have different teams that are responsible to see that the purchases are done in the right way, in an accountable way, and like the school to achieve value for money. It is not a one-man's job. Yes, so we have these different committees, and I would just like to talk about them in this, actually the first video, because they're also like a basis for how we do the work in a school. We'll start with the contracts committee, or what we call the CC. So you will hear things like CC, we are meaning the contracts committee. But what is a contracts committee? This is just a committee that is appointed by the accounting officer or the head teacher, and this committee is approved by the governing body or the board in a school. For example, where I work, we say the governing body is like the board, and the board gets to approve this committee that has been selected by the accounting officer, who is the head teacher. So there are normally 3 to 5 members on this committee. So you will find a contracts committee, it might have 3, 4, or 5 members sitting on that particular committee. And what is the role of this committee? This committee is the one that approves all the things that are going to be purchased in a school. So it is the committee that decides, like, okay, I think this is the right supplier. Yes, you said those people brought in their bids and they are requesting, and according to what you have given to us, procurement, thank you for sourcing for the supplier. These suppliers you have brought, we think this is the best person to deliver the things. Yes, this is the committee that does that. As a procurement officer, like I said, you cannot do the work alone. And then, yes, you go out to source for the suppliers to look for these best people. But after you get them, we have to submit to the contracts committee, which is going now to approve. And normally this committee has people who, like, they're chosen, okay, by the accounting officer, and they are sure that these people can make the right decisions and they have the heart of the school. So you cannot find maybe a teacher who is teaching, what do they call it, like part-time teachers being on that committee. So normally it is someone who is full-time at the organization. In this case, it is a full-time teacher who is there at school all the time. They are full-time, okay, at the school. These are the people who will be on the contracts committee. What is amazing for a school, this committee has like the chairperson, like any other committee, that like, yes, and normally the deputy of the school, the deputy head teacher, normally for the deputy, or if you have like where I am, we have two deputies. We have the deputy for academics, then we have the deputy for the administration. Normally the deputy for the administration will be the appropriate member to be the head of this committee. It is not just like that is how you choose, or you can choose anyone, but actually according to the guidelines by the PPDA, the deputy head teacher will be the chairperson for the school, unless it is stated otherwise, but that is okay what the guideline states. So you will find the chairperson, and then we'll have like more 2 to 4 members being on that committee. Normally, like I said, these are people who should be full-time at the school. They have the heart of the school. They have some knowledge of whatever is being done in the school. These are the people who sit on this committee, and this committee, like I said, it is very, very important. This is the committee that is going to decide that, okay, supplier A will be our supplier according to what you have delivered to us as the PDU, as the procurement officers. You are giving us this, and according to what we are seeing and what they are giving us, this is the right person, and the money they are giving us, it is worth, and it will actually deliver value for money for the school. So the contracts committee, or the CC, is one of the most important committees in the school after we talk about the accounting officer. Yes, then we have what we call the EC, or the evaluation committee. Yes, the EC is, this committee is not always permanent. It is not a permanent committee. This is an ad hoc committee. It is just created when there is need. So when we are looking for particular suppliers to do maybe a certain project, or to buy maybe a certain machine for the school, let me see, it is for high value, and then we need to source for the right person. It is really taking a lot of school resources, or maybe we want to construct a building, something that is of high value. We will select, the accounting officer will select an evaluation committee. Actually, the procurement department can suggest members of the evaluation committee, but they will have to forward to the accounting officer for approval. And then when this committee is selected, now the accounting officer is selecting the members of the evaluation committee. What these people do, these are the people who will have, there are also 3 to 5. 3 to 5 is okay, is a number that you can take for the evaluation committee, but you can have more. Yes, but not a very big number. You can go to 6 actually. These are the people who will go into these documents now and look and say like, okay, this one is saying this, but this one is saying this. So this one is giving us, these are the people who will go into the nitty-gritties of the people who have submitted in their bids. They will look into them to make sure that like what these guys are saying, like they are able to deliver. And okay, let me say, they were the people who will even go, they just make sure like whatever you're giving us, whatever you're telling us, this is actually, you're giving us actually what we want. And after they have looked into everything, they will suggest a member. So when they suggest a bidder or a supplier or someone or a contractor ready to do the work, and they say, okay, according to what we have looked into, this is the right person, they will forward their report. They write a report. Yes, the evaluation committee always, after sitting and like looking into everything and they're looking out for like, yes, this is the person, and they come to a conclusion that this is our person, they will forward their report to the CC, which is the contracts committee, for approval. Remember, we said the contracts committee is now that it's going to approve and recommend that this is the person that, yes, this is the person to do the work. So the contracts committee will look into what the evaluation committee has given to them and then confirm that actually, okay, the person that the committee that was chosen to look into all the details, the nitty-gritties of everything, is actually the right person, and will actually give you a go-ahead to go and to let this person go and do the work, is the right person. So the EC is also important, but normally the EC is not, it is not a permanent committee. It can change according to the need. Let me take an example. If we want to construct a building, maybe a staff room or a school chapel, so you will find that members of the evaluation committee are part of the user department who know what exactly they want. They know what exactly they want. Let me take an example. If you want to build a school chapel, you will find the evaluation committee will have a chaplain, because he knows what he needs for his chapel, for the chapel of the school. So the chaplain, the school chaplain, will be a part of that committee, because they are the users. So there is always a member of the user department for this particular committee. And then there will be someone who has the technical knowledge. Let me someone who has the like the engineering knowledge. Let me take an example. If you have the person responsible for to see overall see of the school activities, let me say like the estates manager who has some knowledge about construction, they know how things should be done, they have that knowledge. Or you have an engineer who can come in and be the technical person on that team. That person needs to be on that team. And one thing you should not forget, for someone to be called a procurement officer in any school, they need to be actually qualified. Yes, you cannot just get a teacher and you say these ones have the skills, these ones know how to bargain, they can buy stuff, they actually can talk to people, they can talk to suppliers, and you make them procurement officers. Actually, any procurement officer in a school has to be qualified. That is to say, you must be having knowledge in procurement. Okay, you studied procurement, Fanange. Yes, you must be a qualified personnel to do the procurement work in any institution. And this is actually the role of the accounting officers, to make sure that the school has qualified personnel to do the procurement work. Yes, so that is on the head teacher. You have to make sure that the people you're putting in this office are qualified. They have the procurement knowledge. Yes, things will be easier if you have the right people doing the right work. Yeah. And before I close, let us go into our faith corner. And today we are looking at a chapter from Colossians, chapter 3, verse 23, which says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters. This is one of the interesting scriptures in the Bible. It is calling us to do everything not looking at what will people say, how will they see me, or this is what other people are doing, I should do it. Because at the end of the day, whatever we are doing, even in our procurement offices, we are not working for humans. Yes, you have your boss and maybe your workmates, but at the end of the day, we are not looking at human masters. We are not working for humans, we are working for God. So as you sit in that office, as you do what you do, remember, God is always watching and He's our overall master. So make sure you remember the Colossians 3:23 to do whatever you do with all your heart, because you're working as unto God and not human masters. It was nice sharing with you this, and I pray that the Lord will keep you and we'll get to do this in a better way than we've been doing it. Yes. Thank you for watching. See you next time.